All right, everyone, thanks so much for joining us for Atlanta News First Plus. I am First Alert Meteorologist Courtney Jacobazzi. We have a handful of First Alert weather days to talk about, a lot of weather on the way this upcoming week. What you'll need to know just off the bat is it is going to be downright cold. Of course, it is winter, but you are going to need all of the winter wear, the coats, the hat, the scarf, the gloves, everything, because it is going to be brutally cold and also a bit windy over the next couple of days. That is the reason for our First Alert weather day today and tomorrow for the wind and the cold. But then, of course, all eyes on late week as we are watching the potential for winter weather here in North Georgia. A lot to cover, so let's get into it. We have a wind advisory for all of North Georgia that goes until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. So it is going to stay quite breezy, if not windy, with wind gusts upwards of 35 miles per hour, maybe even some isolated gusts higher. With the rain that came through overnight and through this morning, that could very well take down additional trees. We've had a couple of reports of downed trees across the area, so just something to be mindful of as you're making your way out and about through the day today. The rain is now out of the way, which is good news, but we could have a few wraparound flurries going through the rest of the morning, taking you through First Alert Futurecast here. Notice north of the city, a few flurries, maybe even some steady snow showers in the highest elevations of the mountains. So if you live up in Fannin County, Towns Union, Rabun County, you very well could have a very light dusting through the day today. But most importantly, look on your screen. We started in the 40s and 50s this morning. We are going to end up in the 30s through most of the afternoon, and with the wind, that is naturally going to make it feel even colder. Taking you forward in time, again, a few passing snowflakes for our highest elevations for the North Georgia mountains, temperatures in the 30s. Heading home from work tonight, we're dry and very cold with that wind continuing to stay blustery. So what does that mean? It is naturally going to feel colder. The oh so important wind chill that we are going to be watching for you continue to drop. It will be in the 20s. It will feel more like the 20s, rather, I should say, throughout the day today, with temperatures feeling more like the teens at 9 o'clock tonight. So you definitely will need to bundle up. I hope you brought the coats with you to work today and gave the kids the coats as they went to school, because you will definitely going to need that. Overnight tonight, we continue our First Alert weather day because of a hard freeze that will be likely across the area. We'll wake up in the low to mid 20s. This isn't the coldest we've been, but we just want to prepare you. It's been a couple of weeks since we've had to kind of deal with the whole winterize your home thing. So make sure your outdoor spigots are covered. You might want to drip the pipes before you go to bed. And of course, think about your plants, your pets, all those things. And then out the door tomorrow morning, of course, make sure you have the coats, because guess what? The wind will stay elevated. Remember that wind advisory goes until 7 o'clock. This is what it's going to feel like as you step out the door tomorrow. How is single digits to teens across North Georgia? Feeling more like the single digits in the mountains, where winds could definitely gust above 40 miles per hour in those higher elevations. And then it'll feel more like the teens out the door tomorrow morning. So make sure you are, again, bundling up. When it comes to the rest of the week, we'll stay cold. So that heat's going to work overtime this week. Definitely going to want to crank that up with morning lows in the low 20s, with highs only in the upper 30s to low 40s. So very, very cold weather that is below average for this time of year by about 10 degrees or so. Now going into our First Alert weather day late week. This is what I'm sure you've been seeing on social media for the last 3 weeks now. They were talking about feet of snow in North Georgia. Unfortunately, that is not going to be the case for us here at home. We're looking mostly at a wintry mix for the city of Atlanta. Some of us, though, could very well see that rain turn into snow. Going into Friday, a winter weather system is going to be moving across the south, and that's going to knock on our door Friday morning. So your Friday morning commute could be a wet one. Where you see that pink color there, that's a wintry mix that could translate over into some ice as well, especially on the higher bridges and overpasses. Snow showers could be starting in far northeast Georgia, most of us dealing with that cold rain. Going forward in time, notice that pink color kind of lingers north of the city, even into the afternoon. That's the concern for us, because temperatures will be flirting with freezing for over 24 hours. So if they do drop below freezing, the surface gets to freezing and rain falls on it. We call that freezing rain, and that creates a layer of ice. So that's something we'll be watching, especially north of the city, along with that potential for maybe some snow accumulation in the mountains going into Friday night. So if you do have to travel on Friday, you need to be really careful. This is a forecast you'll want to watch. And going into Saturday, essentially that whole weather system moves out of the way. We could get some wraparound moisture, very much like we're dealing with today, where that's resulting in a few flurries. Well, on Saturday morning, that could result in maybe a quick burst of some snow showers showers across the area that could maybe give us a couple of flakes, maybe a light dusting in areas as far south as North Metro. So something we'll be keeping a very close eye on. Regardless, we're not looking at any accumulating snow for the city of Atlanta. It looks like any of that will stay north of the city. Again, best chance for accumulation will be in the higher elevations of the mountains. Could see some light dusting as far south as like Cherokee County, but that is almost a stretch. And now keep in mind, this is going to change. We're still several days out. The low that is going to be the determining factor of how much winter weather we see hasn't even developed yet. So the forecast needs some work and models are going to change. But right now, it's unlikely that Metro Atlanta sees any snow. The accumulating snow will more than likely stay in the North Georgia mountains, but we can't completely rule out a few snowflakes, maybe a light dusting for the city of Atlanta and areas north. Ice potential on Friday is arguably the bigger story. So essentially, ice, of course, makes it extremely dangerous to drive. What we're going to be watching is for that mix to maybe translate into that sleet and freezing rain. There's a lot of, again, fine-tuning, a lot of temperature. We have to watch the temperature very carefully is what I should say to determine the ice potential on Friday. But we will be watching it, especially on higher bridges and overpasses. And notice that could very well impact parts of Metro Atlanta as that weather system rolls in. Again, temperatures will be hovering near freezing for over 24 hours. So something we definitely need to be mindful of, especially on those higher elevated surfaces, bridges, overpasses. Really got to be careful and watch those because definitely could see some ice, maybe even some significant accumulations in parts of the Northeast Georgia mountains. So overall, I know I just threw a lot of information at you. This is what we're thinking right now, and this could change. So it's a forecast you want to follow through the week. Far north Georgia and the mountains, snow showers are possible, maybe some accumulation. Ice is also possible, and that will lead to tricky roadways. So definitely think we'll have some tough travel Friday into Saturday. Now for Metro Atlanta, mostly cold rain, and this goes for areas south. If you're south of Atlanta, unfortunately, you're just going to see cold rain. Ice will be possible for parts of Metro, especially north of the city, and that could leave really tricky conditions on overpasses. So we'll be fine-tuning this forecast through the week, but our first alert weather days for the cold and wind today, and then the potential for winter weather late week. I know a lot of you are wishing that we would see some fun snow, but unfortunately this doesn't look like it's going to be a beautiful winter weather event for us, but more of a tricky winter weather event for us, with most of the snow staying confined to the mountains. But that could change, so we're going to be watching it for you. In the meantime, here's a look at that first alert 7-day forecast. Our first alert weather day today, that 49, that's going to continue to drop. As our high temperature drops through the day, we're in the 30s the rest of the day. It's going to be windy. We'll wake up cold tomorrow morning, hard freezes through Thursday with high temperatures only in the upper 30s to low 40s. Those first alert weather days, Friday and Saturday, for about 48 hours, we're not making it out of the 30s, guys. And also that chance for winter weather. And then as we head into Sunday, highs will be in the mid 40s, low to mid 40s, and we'll see sunshine return. So finally some calmer weather heading into next week. All right, everyone. I always appreciate you spending time with us this morning. Please have the First Alert Weather app handy. It's a great tool to have this week. We are constantly updating that app with the latest information on all the First Alert Weather days this week. But now, of course, we do need to turn it over to the news side. We have a lot going on when it comes to news across Metro Atlanta between former President Jimmy Carter and beyond. So I'll send it over to Atlanta News First anchor Joylem Nakran.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you so much. And so, of course, people all across Georgia and really across the nation, I would even say the world, continuing to mourn the loss of former President Jimmy Carter, the 39th President of the United States, who passed away at the age of 100 more than a week ago. A very emotional weekend for millions who tuned in to watch the hours-long procession of the former president. And we brought you coverage all day long here on Atlanta News First on Saturday. And during our coverage, we saw people lined up from South Georgia to Atlanta to watch Georgia's only president make his way back to the metro for the very last time. President Carter's remains and his family traveled through planes where people lined the streets. They waved American flags. And here is some of the video that we captured of that procession passing through the hometown of Plains, Georgia. And it's just about 2.5 hours south of Atlanta, Plains, Georgia. And after his time in Washington, the former president moved back to his hometown where he lived until the day that he died. The motorcade made a stop at the Georgia State Capitol as well before ultimately heading to the Carter Center. And that is where the flag-draped casket of former President Carter remains for now. That was something that he requested because of the meaning that the Carter Center had for him, and also just to give more people the chance to say their goodbyes to him as well. taking advantage of, many people taking advantage of the opportunity to come to the Carter Center, and he will be lying in repose until tomorrow morning there. And Atlanta News First Sarah Hammond is at the Carter Center as more people have come to say their goodbyes.
They have. People have been stopping by from all over Georgia and all over the country. And many of the messages that we've been hearing from them have been very similar. A lot of thank yous to former President Jimmy Carter and remarking on his kindness and his humanitarian work over his 100 years of life. Now, there is still time to come out here and say your goodbyes to the 39th president and the only president to hail from Georgia. His body will lie in repose here at the Carter Center until 6 a.m. tomorrow. Before the funeral procession will move on to Washington, D.C. for the state funeral before returning to Plains, where he will be buried with his beloved wife, Rosalind Carter. Now, the roads around the Carter Center are closed, so you will have to walk, bike, or take a free Marta shuttle from the King Memorial Rail Station. Carrie Lewis made the trip to say her final thank yous to the former president.
It was so wonderful to be able to witness someone that was so giving to this country, and I wish we had more of that. I wish we were, more connected and came together. He really believed in peace.
A couple of things to remember. There is no parking here at the Carter Center, so if you want to come, you're going to have to rely on public transportation. There's also going to be a security screening. You cannot bring a bag of any kind here to the Carter Center. There is an exception for diaper bags, and it's going to get a lot colder over the next 24 hours. So if you want to come here and line up to pay your final respects, make sure you bundle up. At the Carter Center, I'm Sarah Hammond for Atlanta News First.
And a reminder that you can find all of our coverage on President Jimmy Carter's life, legacy, and how the state and people all around the world really are honoring him on our free Atlanta News First app. And also, just want to remind you that you can actually text the word Carter to 470-777-WANF, and we will send you a link with much more. And of course, we're dedicated to bringing you every aspect of this coverage here on Atlanta News First and Atlanta News First Plus. For now, I want to turn to another story that we are following as well. And this is of an officer-involved shooting that is under investigation. This is at Moores Mill Road. And this area has finally reopened after this hours-long investigation. Police tell us that no one was hurt. They did not say if there was actually a suspect in custody at this time, but we are working to gather more information on this developing story. We're going to bring you all the latest updates on Atlanta News First, Atlanta News First Plus, and inside of our free mobile news app. If you haven't done so yet, would highly encourage you downloading that to get all the latest breaking news. All right, I want to turn now to the death of that Marta bus driver that we've been reporting on to you. So now we're finally hearing from the family of Leroy Ramos. That is the bus driver for Marta, who was actually killed while working on Friday night. Well, as I speak right now, police are still searching for the shooter. Atlanta News First Bridget Spencer spoke to friends and family who held a vigil to remember the victim.
My nephew just said, "Where's Daddy? All of these people out here, where's Daddy? Where's he at?"
The family of 47-year-old Leroy Ramos is now left with a huge void in their hearts.
He was a great husband. He was a great man. He just wanted to be a provider, come home.
Police say someone shot Ramos over a $2.50 fare on the sidewalk at the Decatur station Friday night. Police are still searching for the gunman, but did arrest 2 others the same night.
It was a senseless killing. It was no regard for human life.
On Sunday, family, friends, and co-workers gathered where he was killed to reflect on his life.
He was a great cook. He liked laughing. He loved his people. Definitely loved his wife.
Great guy, always funny.
Ramos had just moved to Atlanta from New York and had begun working for Marta in October.
Just a guy making a transition, making a move to better the quality of life for himself and his family.
The Amalgamated Transit Union, where Ramos was a member, is supporting the family and demanding better protection for drivers. Some of those requests include more transit police presence and better driver shields.
I'm asking Marta to kind of step up, make this priority so that, safety, our operators, our employees feel safe.
This could have been you. This could have been anybody just going to work.
Bridget Spencer, Atlanta News First.
And in a statement, Marta says it will continue working with the union to make sure that drivers are safe. The family has also started a fundraiser to help during this difficult time, and we have more on AtlantaNewsFirst.com. Okay, let's talk about some news affecting a lot of drivers out there. You're going to have to spend a little bit more to fill up your gas tank because AAA leaders say that Georgia gas prices have inched up slightly this week. Georgia drivers can now expect to pay a dime shy of $3 this morning. Today's state average is just a penny more than last week, but you know, it does add up. And if you do fill up in Fulton County, you can expect to pay the same amount as the national average, which is $3.06 per gallon for regular unleaded fuel. Okay, now I want to show you one more live look here from inside the Carter Center, where the remains of the late former President Jimmy Carter here being guarded, and he is lying in repose for mourners to come and pay their respects. You can do so really at any time until tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. And at that point, Mr. Carter's remains will be transported, as we've been reporting to you. You can find much more information on how to visit the Carter Center. We have information on Marta and all of that on AtlantaNewsFirst.com and by downloading our free mobile news app. If you haven't done so yet, also I want to just pop this up for you. Another resource, you can text Carter to 470-777-WANF to get links sent directly to your phone. Thank you for joining us. Now back to Local News Live.